They ask me who I am. Yeah. They ask me who I am. I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite. They ask me where I'm from. They ask me who I am. I told them I'm an Israelite. We worldwide, I'm an Israelite. Whether through scripts or history, no, I can show you. In the army of Yahweh, oh boy, I'm a soldier. Yeah, they ask me who I am. I told them I'm an Israelite. I can show you. That's right, I'm a soldier. Yeah, they ask me who I am. I told them I'm
What is that echo?
that's right,
What is that echo?
When I say Israelite, they say you Jewish. Look, don't be foolish. Come get a dose of this mental renewing. See how we brew it. It's just different. When I say Israelite, they say you Jewish. Look, don't be foolish. Come get a dose of this mental renewing. See how we brew it. It's just different. When I
All right.
See how we brew it. It's just different.
All right, something is going on, y'all. All right, Chief, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear.
All right, something is going on, y'all. Do you hear an echo? All right, Chief, can you hear me?
Kane, I hear you. Yeah, I hear you loud and clear.
All right, something is going on, y'all. Do you hear an echo? All right, Chief, can you hear me?
Kane, I hear you, but it's a pause and a lag.
What's going on, y'all? Do you hear an echo? All right, Chief, can you hear me?
Kane, I hear you, but it's a pause and a lag.
What's going on, y'all? Do you hear an echo? What in the? I'm not even saying nothing right now, y'all.
I hear you, but it's a pause and a lag.
What's going on, y'all? Do you hear an echo? What in the? I'm not even saying nothing right now, y'all.
I hear you, but it's a pause and a lag.
What's going on? Okay. Well, all right, Chief. That was weird. We gonna go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, no. We're gonna go ahead and go without the first song. That was Daweed Akeem. I'm an Israelite. Wow. So
that was weird.
That was definitely weird, man. This is crazy. What had happened was it was I had my YouTube open and it was playing. So when we went live, that was live and it was receiving the audio from that. So, anywho.
Yeah, that's a vexation, bro.
Yeah. ראשית, אני רוצה לתת וכבוד ושבח ליחווה אל עליון, אלוהי אברהם, ישחק ויעקב. First, I want to give honor and praise to He'll hit the causes to exist. Most high power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Wow. That just threw me off. That threw me off big time. But we're going to get it started. We're going to keep going, you all. Show must go on. I remember when I used to perform back in the day, man, like if it was something that was wrong with the sound system or anything like that, you had to just keep going. You can't stop. Show must go on. No matter how much it was distracting, no matter how much it was stressful, you had to keep going. Couldn't stop. So today's topic is, what does it mean to be an Israelite in 2021? And that's why I was opening up with Daweed Akeem's I'm an Israelite. Love the song, man. I actually was thinking about letting it be the main song, the starting song, the intro song. But
sound like a plan to me.
Yeah, I love that one. So I'm going to go ahead and start off by reading the description. So those of you that's listening in right now and those that's listening in later part of the show, I hope that first part when people listen, they'll be like, what in the world? You know what I'm saying? Hopefully y'all fast forward that. But the description says 40 to 50 years ago, the only real doctrinal difference among Israel or Israelites was the acceptance of the New Testament and or Christ and it didn't affect people's understanding of being Israel, since all of the central tenets were agreed upon. But today, when we consider how many doctrinal differences exist among Israel, especially on social media, it could be argued that there's not a single doctrine or tenet that all of Israel agrees upon universally. With Israel now in the Judges, chapter 21, verse 25 era, does the knowledge of being a Hebrew Israelite mean something different from person to person? And if so, has the concept of truth become meaningless? That is a powerful statement that you had wrote out for this particular topic. And it's so many different directions, so many different, man, there's so many places we could go with this topic. And of course, you've been in this a lot longer than I have, so I'll definitely want you to bring out, what were your thoughts, your frame of thought when you came up with this topic, when you came up with this description, because I can only speak on what I know over the last 10 years, but I'm sure people that's listening that have not been in as long as you have would love to see, what you're seeing versus what we're seeing if we've been in it less than 10 years. So what's your thoughts on it, Chief?
Yeah, first and foremost, of course, giving praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Yah, the power of Abraham, the majesty of Yitzchak, and the Lord of Israel and the 12 patriarchs. Hallelujah, shalom, shalom, Israel. Which is funny because here it is, I'm addressing, I say, shalom to Israel, yet we're about to discuss what does that even mean? What does it mean to be Israel? Those thoughts, those concepts, it came to my mind over the past couple weeks. It's something that I've been kind of poking at, over the past couple years.
Okay.
But it's only recently that I've been able to really sit down and really consider those questions. What does it mean to be Yisrael? Now, of course, this came up because I was thinking about how when I came into this walk in the early 90s, the only difference, like the introductions stated, the only major difference that existed in Israel at that time was Israelites who believed in the New Testament and Israelites who did not believe in the New Testament. That was the main difference. That was the only dividing line. Now, of course, that's not to say that there was not, small little doctrinal shades of differences here and there, but it was nothing that would cause a divide in any group. These things weren't a big deal. But here it is. We fast forward now 30, 40, 50 years, and like I asked, is there any single doctrine in Israel that we can say is universally accepted? I would posit that no, there is none. And why is that? And so these are things that we're wrestling with, because let me back up for a second. From a religious standpoint, when you look at Christians, and I'm talking about mainstream Christians, like just the straight hard-nosed, Christianity, whether they believe that they are Methodists, Baptists, Episcopalian, Protestant, Pentecostal, Catholic, whatever denomination you could think of, Jehovah's Witness, Seventh-day Adventist, Bereans, whatever, they all have their varying degrees of belief about certain things, whether they believe in the rapture, they don't believe in the rapture, or but the one thing, but the things that you can be guaranteed among all of them is what? Christ is God.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. Christ is God. Number two, Christians are the inherited people of God. What else can we Jesus is his name, even if they say Yahshua, whatever like that, but they never reject the term Christ or the concept of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? They might say Mashiach, whatever, but you'll never hear them say, no, he wasn't the Christ. No, all Christians believe that. So there's certain tenets, there's certain foundational tenets that no matter what Christian denomination you go to, you're guaranteed to find these particular tenets. It's the same thing in Islam. Whether you're Sunni, Shiite, into Sufism, whatever, you have differences of shades of meaning in the Hadith and this and that. The one thing you'll never see, there's not one Muslim you'll ever run into that does not believe in the 5 pillars of Islam. No Muslim will ever say that Allah is not God.
Right.
No Muslim will ever say that Muhammad is not his messenger. You'll never meet a Muslim that says you don't have to go to Mecca at least one time in your lifetime. Go to Mecca for your pilgrimage. You'll never meet a Muslim to say that. You'll never meet a Muslim that'll say that you should not participate in zakat or charity or making prayer 5 times a day. All Muslims believe it, regardless of your shades of practice. There are tenets that are concrete in Islam. And we can just go from religion to religion to religion to religion, and you'll see the same thing pan out. No matter what differences, whatever, there's always concrete tenets that they all agree upon. Even in Judaism, the religion that Israelites hate, you're like, oh man, Judaism. Even them.
Yeah.
But when we come to Israel, our people, our heritage, our culture, our power, this is when things start getting shaky. This is when things start getting murky and sketchy. And I want to get into some other things, but I want you to obviously to bring in your vantage point on what was just brought out.
Yeah. Man, that's something that even since I've been in the short amount of years or amount of 10 years, I've always, brought that out as far as what you're saying, as far as the it being a standard in regards to these other things, groups that you brought out, Christianity, Judaism, Islam. It's certain standards that it's a universal thing that's done. And with us, we have it within, camps. But even within camps that you have those that are New Testament and Old, and then you have those that are just say without camps in the Tanakh. It's just so many different beliefs within it.
Right.
It's so many. And, over these years, I always wondered, like, why? Until, I started learning the culture. I started learning the language and things and these are things that's taught that we shouldn't learn in certain groups, and especially in the social media world,
Right.
and it just makes you, a person like myself, I look at these, these foundations that people are within as far as these religions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, They might not have a cultural understanding of it. Some of them might not, but they still all have, like you said, that standardized tenet or doctrine. They still have it on the major things. But I can have a conversation with maybe 7 Israelites. And I think all of us will be different in our thought process. It might be some similarities. It might be some similarities as far as thought, though, not as far as belief, though. Like, oh, man, you know what? I thought about that. I never really rocked with it, but I could see why, you know. But it's not something that I don't know. My mind. I can't even wrap my mind on what exactly or how I want to present it because it's just it really baffles me. Even those that's cultural based,
right?
It's major differences, or who think they're cultural based, or who know they're cultural based. It's a lot of major differences.
Indeed, and listen, man. You know, and for the sake of viewership or those who will eventually see this, see this video, certain things I'm not going to bring out purposely,
Okay.
because I know agents are watching and they would love to see, they would love to see anything that they can get their hands on to quote unquote expose Israel. So no,
Okay.
and
this
so
is
certain
not,
things
we're not
right.
going to say right, and this is not like when I'm saying this, and I'm sure Chief Zeb as well. It's not to say oh you shouldn't be a part of. No, that's not even
right
the case at all. So if it is someone out there that's going to try to use this, which we don't have a lot of viewership right now. Some people like to dig, and later on if they try to dig, that's not the purpose of this.
Right.
But we're trying to get to the bottom of it or bring out things that could be reasons as to why, because this can be passed along to some of those that are pillars within our community that can probably help facilitate change. So we'll see.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so with that caveat, with that said, I mean, think about this. When I first came into this walk, and as I began to grow, and I thank Yah for the elders and even the brothers who I rocked with. My brother Chief Hebron, may the Most High bless his memory. He passed away recently. But when I came in and I had these brothers around me, I thank the Most High for their lives, because much of my growth is because of watching them and just seeing how they moved, and I got in alignment. So as I began to grow, there was something that I understood early on, and that is that regardless of however you interpret a situation or interpret a script or whatever, there were just some things that were a given. Like no matter what Israelite you ran into, whether it was ISUPK, whether it was House of David, whether it was Soldiers of Christ, whatever group that you ran into back then, you might disagree on a bunch of stuff, but there was a few things that no matter where you went, there would be universal agreement in Israel. One of them, Deuteronomy 28. That is our DNA test. That's our ancestry test. That was a given.
Mm-hmm.
Deuteronomy 28. Keeping the laws, commandments, judgments, statutes, ordinances, and testimonies. That was a given. Keep the law. Yisrael, Deuteronomy 28, keep the law. You see what I'm saying? So the Most High, Yod Wahe, whatever the case may be. That was it. So certain things, so no matter where you went, if you adhered to those particular tenets, even if there's disagreement in other minor things, it was like, okay, well, all right, that is what it is. But we still Yisrael.
That's right.
But but even these basic tenets are no longer universal. No. This is why I said earlier, when we talked about Muslims no matter where a Muslim lives in the world, no matter what language he speaks natively, he can speak in clicks. The one thing that they know, if they're Muslim, they may not be able to speak anything else in that language, but they know Allah.
Right.
So whether you spoke English, French, German, Sinhalese, whatever language that you spoke, no matter where you were at, there was an understanding that you could speak that language, but when it came to reading in your Quran, you knew and understood that, you know what I'm saying, that Allah is God, period. You never hear a Muslim say, I don't say Allah, I say Allah.
Right.
Or Ula. Or Ola. Or Allah.
Right.
You don't hear that. You don't hear that because they're like, yo, what the hell? It's Allah. That's it. And Muhammad is his messenger. Muhammad Rasulullah. That means that Muhammad, not Mohammed or Muhammad, or you don't hear this. It's standardized. This is what it is. Either get with the program or get out. So these are things that we see in these other groups, these religious groups, and we speak against religion all the time. But the one thing that you have to give these religions credit for is that they know how to keep order in their ranks. They know how to set a standard, and everyone follows that standard, even if they have disagreements in smaller areas, but they never go against the prime directive.
I like how you threw those examples out first. And without even knowing what you're doing, what I gathered from what you did is those are the two most important, the most important thing to start off with. If you are a culture-based and you have your deity, your God, right, is what people call. Everybody who believes in that said deity says the same name.
Right.
Or we could talk about another culture. We could use we don't even got to use Christianity or Israelites or anything. Any other culture, they all use that same deity name. But with ours, we have so many as the Most High, in whatever way we use it. And then for those, like, that's why I like how you brought up the messenger part. Those are used in the New Testament. There's so many different names for that particular message that they stand by.
Mm-hmm.
So I like how you tied that in. I don't want to, cut your wisdom, but I like how you tied that in because that should make us think. Some will argue like, well, it doesn't matter as long as we keep the commandments and I get all of that. I get that premise. Mm-hmm. I also get that, okay, some people say, well, you need to start here and then we could work on that later. I get how that can be used and be understood, like, okay, maybe, but I think it could be problematic, as we go. So it needs to be foundation set first that everybody goes by. And I love how you started off with that. That's all I wanted to say. And I just want to add that, will this change this particular segment that we're doing change the entirety of everything that we talk, that we're really aiming towards? Maybe, maybe not. But I love that you brought that out because when you look at anybody, that's a starting foundation. That was powerful to me. Hopefully, it was powerful to the listeners.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, but these are the things that have to be, even in that example you gave, well, not your example, but you were just saying how people may say, well, as long as you keep the laws, whatever like that. And it's like, yeah, on the surface, I can go for that. Okay, yeah, no doubt. But what's interesting is one of the laws that we are instructed in is what? Is not to not to defame the name of the deity.
That's right.
And to honor, you know what I'm saying, and not to curse the name of the deity. In order for that law to have any meaning, you have to first know the name itself.
That's true.
You can't honor something that you know not of. So when we say that, oh yeah, in the name of the Most High, okay, then what is his name? You're saying in the name of the Most High, but you're not mentioning his name. What is it?
Mm-hmm.
And so what we find, and this is something that I've tried to do over the years. Other Hebrews have tried to do it too. So I'm not saying that I'm the only one, because I'm clearly not the only one doing it. But there's been many Israelites that I know that have tried to reduce these differences by focusing on common denominator approaches. So regardless of the vowel points or the vowel placements that a person may use in the name of the Most High, the one way that you can bypass all of that is just simply say Yod He Wahe.
Okay.
Because now, unless you utilize the Ahaya appellation, and we'll put those brothers and sisters to the side for now,
Right.
But if you believe in Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yehovah, you know what I'm saying, Yahweh, whatever, like however you want to pronounce it, the one thing that we're clear on, and that there can be no, well, you would think that there can be no difference on it, is that if someone says Yod He Wahe.
That's right.
Now, that's for me and for others who've done it, that's a common denominator. Like, okay, can we agree on that?
Mm-hmm.
And on the surface, there will be agreement. They're like, yeah, no doubt. But see, the problem with agreement and the problem with getting everybody on the same page with something is that people begin to think that they're losing their identity.
That's right.
Because now you're not a special camp on the side, like, yeah, we do what we do. Now you're just one Israelite amongst many.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't, and I realize that people don't like it. They don't like to be a part of a larger whole. People don't like to be cogs in a vast machinery. They like to be the machine itself. So even if they agree with Yod He Wahe, like, yeah, no doubt, we can all agree on that. But then it's like, well, now, damn, I don't have nothing to keep you separate from me, away from me with now. Because if I remove that barrier, now I have to deal with other Israelites. I have to deal with them and work with them. So a lot of times, even though we know that this issue can be solved, we'll put the barriers back up because it's much easier to just dwell amongst those who believe exactly as you believe than to actually go out and make connections with Hebrews who think differently.
That's right.
It's like circular reasoning, it's and that's just one of the examples of again, going into the bigger issue that we're gonna touch about what does it mean to be an Israelite. And that's where we're actually beginning. We're beginning with the issue of what exactly do Hebrews believe? If somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, I've been seeing you around the area. I noticed your head, your head covering. I noticed your fringes, or whatever. What do you deal with?" And you're like, "Yeah, well, yeah, I'm a Hebrew, or Israelite, or however you choose to phrase the term. But I'm an Israelite or whatever." Oh, word, okay, yeah, I want to know more, or whatever like that. And then you're giving them whatever you feel that you need to give them to kind of start them up. But then what happens when they ask this magical question to you? When they say, "Hey, I'm on Facebook. Are there other Israelites on Facebook?" That's where it starts getting sketchy, because now you're thinking like me, I don't know if everybody thinks this way, but I know I think the first thing that comes to my mind is, oh man, how am I going to, because you already know. I mean, can you imagine introducing somebody who's in the infancy of their spirituality, the infancy of, you know, of growing as, you know, whatever, and they're just getting their first taste of the Torah, their first taste of knowing that they're Israel and all this other stuff, and then you subject them to what's on Facebook?
Yeah. Or YouTube.
What would be the outcome of that? So it puts you in a situation where you almost want to tell that person either A, I don't know any Israelites on Facebook, or you might want to tell them, yeah, I wouldn't mess with Facebook, whatever like that, you know, and try to point them either in the direction of, like, either, you know, if you have a camp, bring them into your camp, or if you know of a camp, you know, direct them to a camp that could help them, to give them their foundation before they start hearing other thoughts and other concepts, whatever. Give them a foundation.
You know what's crazy? Real quick, I want to say this, and I'm gonna play a song after I say this. You know what's that example you used? When I point that question anywhere else, Christian, Judaism, Islam, it's like everyone says the same. Like, you can go to a Christian that's not even a practicing Christian, and they will say the same thing that someone that is a practicing, seasoned, scholarly Christian. But the example that you said, it's exactly what I think. Whenever anyone comes to me, I'm like, okay, shoot. Yeah, man, it's a lot deeper than deeper. It's so much. So many, you know, so many variables. I understand why somebody will say this, but they missing this part because X, Y, Z, or they not miss. You know, it shouldn't have to be all that. It should be X, Y, and Z. Well, yeah, I know I hear people say higher. I heard you say Yah, or Yahweh, or Yahweh, or Yahuwah, Hoa. Can you expound on that? And then, you know, me being that I am a Hebrew linguist, I'm not saying I'm a scholarly Hebrew linguist, but I have a very good foundation on the language as to how to explain it. Now you got me thinking like, okay, how do I break this down on little terms to where it would not beat up on those who might not know? You know what I'm saying? It's so many factors, and it's just too much. I want to go ahead and play another song, and we could bounce right into what we left off, unless you have something else to bring out. But that's an excellent point that we brought out. And man, if you're listening right now, you know, let us know your thoughts. Leave comments. If you're watching live right now, write some comments in here so we can, you know, read them and tackle them, or just see what you think on it. All right. Without further ado, let's go to the next song. The next song is Zamir Yaron with Choose a Side. Let's get it.
Hey. Yeah. It's your brothers and me around, man. Stabs. We had on war.
Hey, Glazer. I see you.
What side you gonna stand for? The light or the dark? This world of the heavens?
Yeah, the water's on my mind. Told me looking I would find. Hustle tell me on the grind. Trying to tear apart my mind. But he made me a soldier. Tell him get up on my shoulder. Yahuwah made me bolder. Knock him down like a boulder. Scripts on me in the holster. Bag up in the sculpture. I be praising in the daytime. I be praising in the night. Yeah, I'm ready for the fight. Yeah, I'm ready for the war. Hustle tell him wanna battle. I tell him what's up. I'm ready for more. We don't wrestle in the corner, but we wrestle in the spirit. That's the only way we get it. That's the only way you win it. Hasatan want your mind. Hasatan want your heart. Hasatan want your life. He'll tell you right apart. Rip you up into pieces. Kill the flesh is how you feed him. Word of things we don't need him. Yahoo always trying to see him. Yahoo up on the top. Hasatan up on the drop. When you see your brother rise, just believe he gon' try to make it stop. To pick a side, what you gon' choose? I ride with bros, yeah, I'm a hero. Hey, the Father on my mind. He gave me scripture, so you know that's how I fight. Yeah, gotta choose a side. Yeah, you gotta choose a side. You gotta choose a side. Choose a side. Yeah. You gotta choose a side. Is you with the world, or you gonna ride with the Most High? With the Most High. Hey. Choose a side, man. Choose who you gonna serve. Yeah. Choose a side. Yeah. Gotta choose a side. Yeah. Oh, you gotta choose a side. Can't be lukewarm. You gotta be cold or hot. Yeah, choose a side, choose a side, choose a side, choose a side, yeah.
All right. We're back. That was Zamir Yaron with Choose a Side. And you know, when I hear that scripture, when I hear that song, it reminds me of a scripture. I want to pull it out. Let me see if I should have already had it out, but I just thought about it as I was hearing it. Let me see. I think it's Deuteronomy. Good old Deuteronomy.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
And I have said life and death, blessing, character for truth. Yeah, okay. So I like Deuteronomy Devarim, chapter 30, and it's verse 19. I like the last part of it, but I'll read the first part of it too. So I call heaven and earth to witness against you today that I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Therefore choose life that you and your offspring may live.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Now we know some context behind that, but make sure you check out the context. But I think that is also a universal concept when it comes to just the whole entirety of what the Most High has been, put forth for Israel in the commandments. Do you all answer questions? Someone asked.
Yeah.
Haven't had anybody ask that before. We just started this platform, but as long as it's pertaining to the topic, I would say, I don't see why not. What's your thoughts on that, Chief?
Yeah, there shouldn't be no problem with that. As long as the question, or the questions are in alignment with, the uplifting of Israel, trying to, be the repairers of the breach, so to speak, metaphorically. If it's a productive question. Now, if it's a question where, where it's just going to become like a Facebook kind of situation, then we'll probably steer clear of that. But if it's a question in the spirit of love and the spirit of truth, then absolutely, fire away.
Okay, so we'll give get a time to write his question if he still has it. But did you want to go forward into the next part of the segment, or did you have anything to feed off of what was said last? What was last said?
No, we can move forward, whatever, because either way, it's going to come back around anyhow. So
yeah,
we can still move forward.
All right, so back to the topic. What does it mean to be an Israelite? I'm gonna start off real quick by saying, and again, I don't know if you have anything set to bring out, but this question is so broad, and I guarantee you, if you ask 10 of us, or 7 of us, I say 7. I'm not gonna say 10. It'll be some different answers. It might be some commonality within it. And again, me saying this is not necessarily a negative thing. It could be looked at as negative. And honestly, I can see that perspective. But I believe that we do need to look at this. I think we have come to a point now where social media and the different avenues that we have puffed up or cause us to have more pride due to the easy access of ushering in so many different people. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, now it's that position that you don't want to let go, like you were saying before we played the song, you know, instead of just having a universal, united front. I mean, a lot of us speak on it, and I believe a lot of our camps speak on it as well. But how many of our camps, and I can't say it's a yes or no because I haven't seen it. You might have seen it in the years that you've been in it, you know, being in since the beginning of the 90s. How many of the camp leaders will come together and try to formulate a united, standardized way for the whole body of Israel, whether you're old or Tanakh or Torah based or Tanakh only, or New Testament. You know, how many will come together? How many see the benefit in it? How many think it is a benefit? And if you don't think it's a benefit, are we actually keeping the Torah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's so many different questions. There's so many different factors with this question. What does it mean to be an Israelite? Because to me, if you was to ask me this question right now, I would say, what's the question? What does it mean to be an Israelite in 2021? Well, that's a different question right there. But if you ask me what it is to me to be one, I would say Jeremiah 29 is the most perfect example. Jeremiah 29 is the most perfect example. And it's dealing with culture and it's dealing with nation building. In that chapter, you don't see it saying nothing about allowing differences of opinion to push you away from one another. It's telling you to build together. You know, it's telling you to grow food, have children with one another. It's telling you all these different things.
Yeah. But of
and
course,
I want to say, but I can't go into that right now.
no. But what's interesting is that the question itself shouldn't even be a question. Like, for instance, if you ask, and you know, and I'm not a big fan of comparing us to religious groups, but because these are the methodologies that people understand more readily, I kind of, you know, I concede to the usage of these examples. So, like, if you take a pool of, let's say, 50 Christians and randomly ask them, what does it mean to be a Christian? They're going to give you, maybe not in the exact same words, but they're all going to give you the same general perspective, and that is what? The same tenet, and that is being a Christian means what? That you are born in sin, and that it is through the blood, the blood of Christ, the shedding of his blood for the remission of those sins that I am saved.
Facts.
Now they're going to give you, you know, they might use varying words, whatever, but it'll always be that. That'll always be the response. The sentiment will always be that.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to run into a Christian that says, yeah, as Christians, we believe that keeping the Torah and the Old Testament. They're not going to tell you that. They're going to tell you this is what we do, and it's almost cookie cutter. You go to a Muslim. What does it mean to be a Muslim? And you know what they're all going to tell you? They're going to tell you this. They're going to run down the 5 pillars of Islam. And they're going to tell you, well, Muslim, it comes from, in Hebrew, we have a similar term or name, Meshulam. It's the same. It's actually it's the same. You know what I'm saying? And Meshulam or Muslim means what? From peace.
Right.
So a Muslim is one who is peaceable to his fellow man. He believes in Allah. He believes that Muhammad is his messenger, and these are the pillars of Islam that we follow. They're going to give you the rundown, and it's concrete, almost cookie cutter. All groups have a clear and concise definition of who and what they are, and what are the tenets that show and prove that existence. Every group has that. But when you come to us, this is when it gets murky. Because if someone says, well, what does it mean to be an Israelite? On the surface, I can say, well, being an Israelite is that I am a blood descendant of of the 12 patriarchs of Israel, who was Jacob. We follow the Torah, we keep the laws, commandments, judgments, statutes, ordinances, and testimonies, and that's the basics of whatever the case. Right. But you'll have someone to come in and says, well, wait a minute. Well, you don't believe in Christ? You don't believe Christ is the Messiah?
Right.
And you're like, oh, well, and then that becomes an issue. And then somebody might come and say, well, wait a minute. Well, you said you're a blood descendant of the 12 tribes. How you know what tribe you're from? And then the rabbit hole is not just simply a rabbit hole. Now you have multiple rabbit holes that now you have to deal with over a simple question.
And you said something powerful. Well, to me, I don't know if others gonna think it is. You say you don't want to make. You said something along the lines of you don't want to kind of confuse the whole religion thing, right? Something along those lines. But I want to make a distinction in those groups that's mentioned. Right. And I'm not trying to make an escape route. Some people say route. Right. I'm not trying to make an escape route or route. But the major difference and the problem is that those are the Israelites. And you heard people heard this before. It's not a religion, it's a culture.
Right.
So culturally speaking, because a lot of people say, well, what about the DNA and all? You did a test and all that stuff. It wasn't about that back then. Culturally, stuff was understood through being a part of a culture, through a lot of word of mouth. That's how a lot of literature we have is put together now. It was orally given before it was written. Right. What's the purpose of me saying this? The purpose of me saying it is all the questions that's asked is not bad questions, but what makes it more simple for Islam or the Christianity and all that is because it has been packaged as a religion. Although I do like the Islamic or the Islam, how so structured they are. It's amazing. It's almost in the cultural way. They actually, they practice it more culture in my opinion, than Christianity, of course. So that's what makes me like it. But
right.
These tenets, it's actually it's packaged perfectly. Could we do it? Yeah. Only way we're gonna do it is going back to the beginning of this conversation. We have to have these tenets. We have to have this agreement of standardized, universal, pinnacle doctrines or understandings, like the very first thing that you brought out with just the name, the name itself. So I think that not having that portion that you brought out is causing the continuance of blocks being knocked over or knocked down with questions because there's no initial foundation. And if it was an initial foundational agreement upon all of us, then these questions will be very simple to be answered. And it to a lot of us, it is simple to be answered. We do answer it simple to us.
Right.
Us, we could break it down, but to others as listening, sometimes it's not simple. It's like, man, okay, I get you. I understand what you're saying, and they can't fathom it because they have a more structured layout of their belief.
Right.
You know? So hopefully that's understood what I was trying to convey.
Yeah, and absolutely. And again, I don't, because I know in Israel, it gets touchy, people, oh, the comparisons, why are you comparing it to, whatever. But, just like any organization, and when I say organization, mean that anything that is organized, anything that has rules, regulations, and protocol is an organization.
That's right.
But again, rules, regulations, and protocol. So let me backtrack a little bit. Just from a historical standpoint, when we think about the first occurrence of Hebrew Israelite sects, sects.
I'll be having to do that too. I remember I said that I was at a store somewhere and they was asking me questions about what I am and what I do, and I must have said this lady was like, how are you going to throw that in the conversation? I'm like, lady,
right.
I'm talking about as like sections.
Right.
Go ahead.
Now we always got to make that clear, but when you think about the first mention historically of an Israelite sectarian group, I'll use that term, of sectarianism, it's historically you realize that it's only after the Babylonian captivity, and more specifically after the arrival of the Greeks on the geopolitical scene. That's the first time that you ever see sectarianism in Israel. Prior to that, you either served Yah or you were wicked, and you were destroyed. That's it. Like there was no there was no lukewarm situation. You were either here. I think we heard a song about this a little while ago. Whatever. Which side are you on? That's all it is. You look at the prophet Elijah, when he came to do battle, so to speak, with the priests of Baal. What did he tell the people? He said, "Why are you stuck in between two opinions?"
Yep. And what those Israelites, Chief? Am I starting something? Was those other Israelites that he was talking to?
Not those are Israelites. There's no question about that. But of course, people, whatever. But he told the people, how long will you straddle between two opinions? If you serve Yah, then serve him. If you worship Yah, then worship him. If you worship Baal, then worship it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. So either you serve the Most High, or you were no longer even in the community, period. Okay. This is the reason why certain laws, that when you broke certain laws, what it says that you would be cut off from your people.
That's right.
There was no, there's another group of Israelites over there. Moshe is the leader of this group, but over there's a leader named Korach, and there's another leader over here named Aaron. Like, no. It's either this or you are gone.
That's right.
That's it. And that's all we see all throughout the Tanakh until we get to the Greco, well, not the Greco-Roman, but the Hellenistic period.
Mm-hmm.
You go into the first Maccabees, you start seeing.
I was about to bring it up. You said something a couple weeks ago. Go ahead.
Okay, you start seeing the arrival of a group called the Hasidim, or in the English Apocrypha, it's called the Assyrians, who were the forerunners of the Pharisees. These were the guys who were, everything with them is the law. Law, 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 law. Keep this law or get destroyed. It was very, very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Now you take that and you fast forward 100, maybe 120 years, and you come into the New Testament period. And what do you have now? You have the Pharisees, you have the Sadducees. Then you got the branch of the Sadducees that did not choose to dwell in Jerusalem. They, in fact, went to Qumran, and they became the Qumran. They became the Essenes. The Essenes and the Sadducees are the same group. One of them took the payoff from Rome, and they're the ones that you see in the New Testament, basically collecting taxes from the Israelites and whatever. The other group of Sadducees, or the Tzaddukim, they went into Qumran. They're like, yo, we out of here. We're going to go to the desert, serve the Most High. So you have the Pharisees, and within the Pharisees, you got the school of Hillel and the school of Shammai. Then you got the Sadducees. You got the Sadducees of Jerusalem and the Sadducees of Qumran. And then after that, you got what? You got the Hellenists. Then you got the Herodians. Then you got the Essenes. I mean, not the Essenes. Then you got the Ebionites. Then you got the what's the other the Nazarenes.
Yeah.
And you also had shades of differences even amongst them. So the question, of course, is what occurred? What occurred after the arrival of the Greeks that caused Israel to just magically have a plethora of differences or different sectarianisms? What caused this? Because because we can't just overlook the fact that for the better part of 1,500 years, from the time that Israel came out of Mizraim to the first century, 1,500 years, you're telling me that in 1,500 years, this has never been an issue. And then all of a sudden, boom, we now have 10 plus sectarian groups running around at the same time. Even amongst Paul's believers in the New Testament, amongst Paul even talks about the fact that, hey, if someone, if tells his congregation, he says, if anyone comes to you, bringing you a gospel that we have not brought you, or teaching of a Christ that we did not teach you, you're like, well, wait a minute, how many Christs are we dealing with?
Right.
So even amongst them, there were these sectarian moments. And so the question then becomes is, what happened that caused this? And does it have a connection to what we are seeing today?
That's powerful. I want to say what happened, and this is my opinion, and you brought it out a couple weeks ago. In the first, I think it was first Maccabees, when that option was given. Back then it was just captivity. It was a Judges 3 steady happening. Mm-hmm. Captivity, and then we'll get us a Mashiach. Actually, I want to throw that out there. And then they got their rest after they were saved. You know what I'm saying? So they kept, everyone was serving in that sense. And then, you got this new, like you had said, this new manner of rulership to where they didn't force you to serve theirs, or they actually, hey, keep doing what you're doing, but here's a different option, like you said a couple weeks ago. And that just blew them away. It's like, oh, okay, and that pulled away from that remnant, and that That is what formed, in my opinion, a remnant of a remnant, but that's a different conversation. But you put something in the description. I'm gonna read it in Shophatim or Judges, chapter 21, verse 25. It says, "In those days there were no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes." Now, I don't know if I'm going in a different direction when I read that, but it's something that just stuck out to me. Just reading that one verse.
That is a rabbit hole text. So yeah,
and I might not even go into it. Okay. The thing that just stuck out to me the most is, in those days there was no king in Israel. In those days there was no king. Before there was a king, the Most High was our king, and we all understood the Most High and what the Most High was, what Yah was. Right. Then we was given this king due to our request, wanting to be like the other nations. Right. Then you got Shophatim in this section where it wasn't no king present. Now everyone's doing right in their own eyes. Fast forward to the Maccabees, same things happening. But now you have this temptation of something different being shown in their face. And with that being said, now you choose to go this route, and that example of that king, or that wasn't the king. Who was it? The king? I got to go to Maccabees. Who was that was trying to offer Mattathias? Yeah, tell you.
I believe it was one of the generals, one of the
Right. So
because he was coming in the name of the emperor.
Right. So you have that situation that comes, and people start giving into that. Right now, they're given roles or positions from this that offering that was given from that general. Right, they're given certain roles, but I want you to be over your people. This is just me. My mind is just rolling right now. So this is not facts. And It might be facts. I just don't know. Chief might know more than me. I'm sure you know more than me in this regard. But my mind just thinking about it now. It's like, now you're choosing to go on this side, go this direction. This suggested, like, okay, go ahead. You could do it this way. You could come over here. And then they see your value. They give you a position, but they want you to be over your people with this position given. Now, this is, I'm not saying it's a fact, but Chief, if it is, let me know. And that can start to formulate sects or sections, sectarians or whatever, in my opinion. But I'm gonna have to research that now. Now that I said that, I want to see if that can actually be the case. So but that tactic is,
historically, the Greeks, not saying that the Greeks were the first ones to do it, but they were the first ones to make it, I guess, mainstream, because even centuries later, the same tactic was used during the colonial era of Africa. They called it indirect rule, where they themselves won't be the ruler up front. They'll take a native and put him in the front. And so when the people begin to uprise, they don't see Geppetto, they only see Pinocchio.
Right.
Geppetto's in the background. It's like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood when we were younger. You know what I'm saying? You're looking at the puppets, but you don't see the hand that's up the puppet chute.
Right.
You think the puppet is talking, and it's not. It's somebody with their hand up the puppet, and they're behind the scenes making the puppet say these things. But we don't see the puppeteer. We only see the puppet. So we put all of our grievances, and this is what, like you said, this is what causes, sectarianism, because they're like, yo, we ain't rocking with that. Yo, we're gonna come over here and we're gonna do our thing.
Right. Go ahead.
No, but even in that group, you have individuals that be like, yeah, we're gonna do our thing, but yo, you know what? But see, you got some things that I don't really agree with. You know what I'm saying? What you were bringing. So you know what? Yeah, we respect that, but but me and my little circle that's in the group, is going to go over here and we're going to go do our thing.
Yeah.
And then somebody in that group is like, yeah, I'm feeling that, but there's something that you don't believe in, that you rejected back there that we accept, but there's some things in this. So we're going to go over here and we're going to separate and do our thing. And this is how religion is born.
And the culture is lost.
Right.
The standard way is lost. And the example that you just said is what we're seeing today. I'm not going to name the camps that the first camp that popped in my head. And you know what's crazy is, you know, what is that saying? The crabs in the barrel. Everybody always talking about, like, you know, we're in this crabs in the barrel thing, but they forget about those that put the crabs in the barrel. Right?
Absolutely.
So it's like, okay, now, yes, the crabs in the barrel, they pulling each other down, this and that, and this is crazy, because this is the example even that you're bringing right now. Just say it a little different. It's like, what were where were these crabs before they was put in the barrel? They had a culture.
Right, they're crabs.
Crabs was put in there. They had something that they was doing amongst one another. They was taking from it. Now they trying to get out and they fighting each other for it. You know what I'm saying? Oh my goodness.
Right.
You know, shalom to those of you that's tuning in right now, man. Please leave your comments, put some questions, your thoughts on what we're speaking of right now. We're gonna take another a brief little intermission, play another song, because this is Y'all Conscious Radio, and we do want to promote other artists within the community, no matter your doctrine. We're all just trying to build and get our people heard, things of that nature. So the next song that we're going to play is from U3, Unique 3. They are a sister and brother group within our community. So here we are. Check them out. Here we go.
Through the fight, through the rain, through the hurt, through the pain, we will rise once again. I won't let it keep me down. Through the fight, through the rain, through the hurt and through the pain, we will rise once again. I won't let it keep me down. Oh. Going through the rain, guarantee at some point all felt this pain, longing and desiring, cooling sensation, emotional struggle, self-negation, feel the heat rising, this flame consuming. It feels as if at this point you are surely losing. In this heated moment, you realize you who was standing right, this thing might shine our eyes. Through the fight, through the rain, through the hurt, through the pain, we will rise once again. I won't let it keep me down. Through the fight, through the rain, through the hurt and through the pain, we will rise once again. I won't let it keep me down. Oh.
might actually change. These are the storms outside. But I'll be steadfast and unmovable. I know His faith comes from. I will not fear these trials that brought me down for a while. Yahuwah, I will rise.
Through the fight, through the rain, through the hurt, through the pain, we will rise once again. I won't let it keep me down. Through the fight, through the rain, through the hurt and through the pain, we will rise once again. I won't let it keep me down. Buried in the ashes, I rise fire, claiming no compromise, taking my stripes upright and strike. Baby, there's no need to fuss and fight. You will let us through the night. With all that we go through and the things we see, your presence remains forever with me. I'll always reflect on the ancient ways. You lit fire by night and cloud by day. Through the fight, through the rain, through the hurt, through the pain, we will rise once again. I won't let it keep me down. Through the fight, through the rain, through the hurt and through the pain, we will rise once again. I won't let it keep me down. Through the fight, through the rain, through the hurt, through the pain, we will rise once again. I won't let it keep me down. Through the fight, through the rain, through the hurt and through the pain, we will rise once again. I won't let it keep me down. Through the fire, through the rain, through the hurt, through the pain, we will rise once again. I won't let it keep me down.
We can't hear you, Maury.
Oh man, wow. Boy, I need my own engineer, so I don't got to worry about this. But anywho,
Yeah, right.
yeah, man, that was U3. They are a family group, 2 women and 1 male, and awesome singers, man. I got some more music of theirs I will play in the future. Show Shalom Shalom. Azar for those that's tuning in, welcome to Y'all Conscience Radio. Well, if it's not conscience, it is not acceptable. You are just tuning in to a good show so far, man. A good episode, a good segment. What does it mean to be an Israelite in 2021? If you have not heard the previous things said, make sure you tune back in later. Start from the beginning, man. There was a lot of things brought out. Chief, did you have another direction You wanted to go. Shalom, shalom. Jazzy Joints. Shalom. You there, Chief?
Okay, I mean, we can all. I mean, we can just continue along the same because obviously these subjects they branch off into other areas on their own. So,
Okay. It's for those that's tuning in. Leave some comments or answer this question. What does it mean to be an Israelite in 2021? I would love to see the different answers that we get and see if it kind of fits what we've been talking about throughout the segment.
right.
Do you agree on the things that we have been saying? Do you understand some of the examples that Chief Zebulon brought out as far as the different comparisons, which we know a lot of people don't like being compared to the other organizations? It's Shaul, Jazzy Joints. I'm not gonna ask, but shalom to you, Ak. But yeah, so yeah, man, we spoke on how they have if they was asked, what does it mean for them to be, a Muslim, a Christian? All of them have set standards as to even down to the name that they use for their deity. Chief was bringing out earlier, and I thought that was amazing. I thought that was amazing thought or concept to bring, not even concept, but a whole different perspective that I believe is not really spoken about often. I've been in this walk into this culture for 10 years now, and that perspective that you brought out, I haven't heard. Not to say anybody else is listening hasn't heard it before. I just haven't heard it, and I think that's an excellent point. Will we ever get there?
Yeah. Well,
do we even think we need to get there? Anybody that understands a house understands that it has to be foundations put in that home for it to actually stand, for it to withstand the different elements and anything that can tear it down. It has to have that foundation first. So even though it might seem small to a lot of people, I believe that is a foundation with any culture, because every culture, even outside of Christianity, like I said, even outside of Islam, even outside of Judaism, even outside of Israelites, any culture, whatever deity, everybody within that culture says the same name in a deity that I know
absolutely. Of. No, I mean listen, it's outside of our paradigm, it's cookie cutter.
Okay.
It's cookie cutter. You'll never speak to a Zoroastrian who will give you a different name of their their benevolent deity, because they believe in two major deities, but their benevolent deity, you're never going to hear them say anything other than Ahura Mazda. Yeah, they're not going to say, some of us pronounce it Ahura Mazda, some of us pronounce. No, it's like, no, this is what it is. It's Ahura Mazda. Right. Either get with the program or get out the temple. It's very simple. It's very simple when you're dealing with these other groups. And let me just say this real quick as a sidebar about using these examples, because some people say, whatever. Listen, when these religions do something that is evil or wicked or that's off, the first thing we do is what do? We say, yo, don't do this wicked. See, we as Israel, we don't do that. We do this, that, and the third.
Right.
When these nations are doing something that's off, we immediately make the comparison and say, yes, they're wicked as hell. We are Israel. We don't do that nonsense. We do this. So it should not be a problem when we find some situations or scenarios where the nations are actually doing something that is productive. We should be able to say, well, we compared ourselves to them when they were wicked as hell. Well, the pendulum swings to the left the same way it swings to the right. So we use these examples. Why? Because the Most High used these examples. When we came out of Mizraim, if you read Deuteronomy 7, the first thing the Most High makes clear is what? He gives us a synopsis about these 7 nations. This is what they do, and he makes the comparison to say, hey, this is what they do. You don't go and do that.
Wait a minute. So it was actually 7 nations that he was speaking of, even in Deuteronomy 7:3-7. No, I'm sorry, that's another topic.
Well,
somebody go beat me up, man, through the screen. But go ahead with the 7 nations. Yeah,
there you go. But the nations nonetheless.
The nations nonetheless. You're right.
Yeah, but the nations nonetheless.
I'm not in context type of culture.
Yeah, but this also it continues to show and prove the point of this episode.
That's right.
When you say that you are an Israelite, and I'm saying that as one who I am an Israelite, there's no question about that. But when we say these things, there's a listen, there's an old 5% anecdote where they say, what is wisdom? The question is, what is wisdom? And the answer is what? Wisdom is the wise word spoken by the wise man to show and prove that God exists. Let me say that again. Wisdom is the wise words spoken by the wise man to show and prove that God exists. Now, let's take that for a second. Let's take that.
Hold your thought on that. Hold your thought. Don't forget. The opposite of that says that the fool says there is no God.
Exactly.
But go ahead. I just had to throw that.
Right. The fool has said there is no God, because so there could be no wisdom there. But the wise man, his wise words and actions shows and proves that God or the deity does in fact exist. So when we say that we are Israelites, are we saying that we're just simply bloodline descendants of Israel? Because that's cool. That's cool. But like my dear friend and colleague Nasik Rav always said, being an Israelite by blood is no big deal because you had no choice in the matter.
Come on now.
You didn't have to do anything to be an Israelite. You just simply had to push out of your mother's womb, out of her vagina, and bingo, you're an Israelite. So you didn't have to do nothing. You did not have to earn anything. Our father Yaakov earned his name Yisrael. The quote-unquote wrestling, which is another story for another time. But
I wanted to go somewhere with that one, but I'm not gonna do it. That's gonna be a topic right there.
Absolutely. Wow. But even in the wrestling, he did not just say, hey, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna call me that. No. He was putting in work, and the person he wrestled with in the story saw that he was getting jacked up. So what does he do? He, throws his leg out of socket, throws his hip out of socket to jack him up because he couldn't beat Yaakov. And after the fact, he says, what is your name? He says, Yaakov. No, your name will no longer be Yaakov. It'll be Yisrael, because you have what? Because with man and Elohim, you have striven and have prevailed. Yaakov put in his work to be called Yisrael. He did not rely on the birthright, because by birthright, he's just Yaakov.
Come on now, Chief.
He did not have to earn that birthright. That was just his, because of his father. But Yisrael, he had to put in work. And so, what does that have to do with being Yisrael? The question is what work are you doing to repair the breach? And the breach that we always hear people talk about is the breach among so-called African Americans, so-called Hispanics, and the Caribbean, the 12, the whole 12 tribe chart breakdown situation. Like that's the repairing of the breach. Metaphorically, of course, we know it's talking about a wall. But metaphorically, the breach among the people. But it's like no, the first breach that has to be addressed is the breach among those who are conscious Israelites.
Come on.
That is the breach that has to be repaired, because how are you going to protect people in a city that has no walls? Yes, we know our people needs help. Yes, we know we have to go out and teach our people in the street and teach them this, teach them this truth. However, the truth is like the bricks in that wall. If you don't, if right now our wall to the spiritual or metaphorical city of Jerusalem is laid waste. Our doctrines, our understanding of who we are and how we express who we are is like that wall, those walls in Jerusalem when Ezra and Nehemiah returned from Persia to rebuild the city. Everything was waste. The jackals were running to and fro through the city. It was jacked. And they had to literally repair the breach. Before they started building the temple or building any place of worship, they had to put that wall up, because that is what protects the people and the community. I
want to jump in real quick, Chief. We got a comment, and I'm not sure if I was saying low as in no. So maybe he could expound on that or fix it or let me know if it was low.
Yeah.
He says low, we have to repair our relationship with the Creator. I want to say that is a fact. It's no disagreement in that. But it is an addition I want to throw in there. One of the ways of repairing our relationship with the Creator is repairing our relationship with who he created. So if we can't repair our relationship with our people, and I'm not saying that please disregard the low part, that was in regards to something else. So I'm not saying that the Ak was in disagreement or anything, but I want to add to what he said, because what he said is facts. But I think a lot of times what we don't understand about our culture, I like to say culture a lot. Yes, I am a full believer in the Most High Yah. Yes. But what I've realized in the Torah or in our literature, it's a common denominator. It's a common denominator in there. And what it is to serve the Most High and to have love with your fellow, with your people. He always put things in place to show love within our people. Even like I said, Jeremiah 29. So when I'm teaching someone, or if we're telling someone I'm gonna pass it right back to you, Chief. But if we're telling someone to repair our relationship with the Creator, we have to show them the culture side of it too. I'm gonna tell you why. Because we already are selfish people. And in another segment before, I did say there's nothing wrong with being selfish from a standpoint of getting yourself in order with the idea to help your people. But a lot of us today, we are just selfish. So we would get right with the Creator on our own. We wouldn't even think about our people. It's some of our people in our walk right now that's like that. I'm good with y'all. Right. I'm good with y'all. But I don't want nothing to do with my people or culture or land or marrying my child with your child or getting things in order with schools and economics and all that, which is Jeremiah 29. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking to you, Zaryahu. I'm talking to people that might be watching, because what you said is facts. But I want to implement that. And I think that's what Chief is bringing out. We already got, that's a standard. The standard, that's the first few commandments. So if we keep in this command, we know we need to be right with the Creator. We know we need to circumcise our thoughts, our minds.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's a given. But what we don't have, I'm gonna say this last part, Chief. What we don't have, Salakli, is that relationship with our people correctly. And that's why we are the ones within these religions, even though we don't like saying that, to where ours is not structured, because we don't have that love and that communal build and that. So go ahead, Chief. I was just trying to bring that in because I think that needs to be one of the top things within our people, man. If we can do that, it's inevitable on all the things we desire as a people. If we can love each other and come together and let these little petty differences that we have, which we're speaking on now, put that to the side and come into some type of standard understanding. I was trying to bring it together though. Go ahead, man.
No, absolutely. And in relation to what the good brother Azariyahu Malaki brought forth about our relationship with the Creator. See, this is the funny, and I agree with that. But this is where it becomes very murky and very sketchy with some of our people. I'm not going to say all, but some of our people. Is that we got to remember something about the law. The Most High doesn't need anything from us. Literally. Meaning that if we don't pray, the Most High doesn't somehow end up like Galactus in Marvel Comics, where if I don't get that energy from the planet, I'm going to get weak and jacked up. No, the Most High is self-sufficient.
I saw that in one of those movies too, like Clash of the Titans or something. If they didn't get the prayer of the people, they started losing their God,
right?
Or whatever. Yeah,
right. We don't have that. We don't have that type of power. Our power. There's a reason why he is referred to as Elohim, full of power. There's a reason for these things. So this is the reason why when we look at the laws, even the laws that require us to, it says, okay, let's just take the 10 Commandments, for instance. The so-called 10 Commandments. When we look at these 10 words, how many of those words are directly in relation to how we are to deal with the Most High?
3, 2, 3. No, not 2. About 3.
Yeah.
Oh, no, 4. 3 or 4. I can't think off the top of my head right now. I know the last 6 or 7 is for us as a people. Right. Okay.
But even with for instance, like even when you consider the Shabbat.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That's for us. The Most High needs nothing. Because if he does need something, then he is not the God that you say he is. And because Because if you can do something or not do something for him, and it can diminish his potency, then he is not the God that you say he is. He is a demigod, and you could possibly usurp him.
Facts. And what's crazy, even those 3 that I was talking about, Chief, he don't need those either. What it does is, by having those 3, it points you back to not taking on the route or the customs of the other nations that's going to bring you away from the people, away from the culture itself, the heritage that was given to us. Like that doesn't even affect the Most High, even the 3.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, 3. But even when we expand now, let's expand outside of the 10 Commandments and let's go with the universally accepted tally of laws, commandments, judgments, statutes, ordinances, and testimonies that we have in the 5 books, the 613. We'll go with that tally for now.
All right.
613 laws, and over 600 of them is in how you interact with your fellow Israelite.
Yes.
This is the reason why all of the wise the Hakamim, or the wise scholars of our people, no matter what generation you go back to in ancient time, they always had the understanding of what, even if you go to the New Testament, where the words attributed to Yeshua, or as they say Christ, Yahushua, whatever, where the understanding was what? That the two greatest laws is what? Love the Most High, right?
And your brother is yourself.
And your brother. So the question then becomes is, how is it that the love of the Most High can be synonymous with the love of your people?
Right.
He said the second is like unto it. So how is these things synonymous? These things are synonymous because the Most High is, listen, he's like, I don't need anything from you, but if you want to show and prove that I am the Lord God of the Hebrews, I'm paying attention to how you treat each other. Because if you can't get things right with a person that is standing before your face, how can you interact with me?
And it said that in somewhere in the New Testament too, as far as, I forgot the verbiage, how it was used.
That if you
how can you love something that you can see? Something along them lines. It's been a while since I read that.
Right. But these are the sentiments that have passed through all of the wisdom speakers of our people, regardless of what traditional canon or book that you're using. That is an ongoing concept.
I found it. Yeah.
Right. Amongst our people understood that if you want a master relationship with the Most High is like, okay, I don't need anything you got, but I need to see how you interact with each other. That'll show and prove to me that I am your God.
And I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read it. You know, for those that don't subscribe to the new, that's fine. You know, and I just like things that align with the Torah, right? You know, I might get shot for this, whatever, but it's kind of like when you're reading literature of today. We might read self-help books.
Right.
It's not Torah, but it's like, oh, this principle right here is beneficial right here. This particular thing I'm reading right here is beneficial, and it actually aligns with the culture of what I'm, putting myself within, or not even putting myself within, I was born in, but actually, yeah, putting yourself within, because like you said, you could be born an Israelite, but not choose to do it. So you are putting yourself in the action part of it. But I want to read it. 1 John 4.
Mm-hmm.
It says, verse 20, if a man say I love God, this is deep, in my opinion, and hateth his brother, he is a liar.
A liar.
For he that loveth not his brother whom he has seen, how can he love God whom he has not seen? Hey, I'm going to tell you something. Chief. Whether I believe the New Testament or whether I don't believe the New Testament, that was sound advice.
As the old ISUPK would say, no, brother, that is sound doctrine.
I could find that part through the Torah. I could put out scripts right now if you wanted to align with that, because it's facts. And we see that all, and it still goes. Watch this. What does it mean to be an Israelite in 2021? It's that passage, I like to say, because scripture to me is Tanakh. It's Tanakh. But that passage that I read goes with this question. What does it mean to be an Israelite in 2021? A lot of us claim we love the Most High Yah, but do not treat our brothers who we have
and sisters. You know, we don't want to be misogynist.
How about that? Our people. We do not treat our people who we have seen as though we do love them. This goes with this question right here. What does it mean to be an Israelite in 2021? I mean, we got brothers. I ain't gonna go into that. I ain't gonna go into that because I'm not trying to pinpoint people. I just would love for us to look at even that passage that we brought out. Look at the examples that Chief Zed brought out with the comparisons within the organizations. How that very foundation that we spoke on is causing a ripple effect on a lot of other questions that seems inconsistent to those that might try to learn from us and just can't fathom due to the foundation alone being problematic. Who would want to come? And this is me speaking. My words, this is not Chief. This is me. But I look at things like this, what was said, and it's like, who would want to come into this, which is powerful to come into, by the way. I think it's the most sound of anything, in my opinion. And trust me, I could go historical, I could go cultural, I could go language. Trust that. I can go all of it. I think it's the most sound, but who will want to come into something to where you have 4 different names to a messenger that you say is the messenger of the Most High? And then you got 4 different names of the Most High. No 5. But these
4
other places have 1. That little small thing that might not seem like a lot to people like us that's watching, me, Chief, that's speaking, is a lot to those you're trying to teach.
Yeah.
And with that, I want to just go into the next song because it is we are an hour and 40 minutes in. I'm gonna do the full 2 hours because we started late. But I got 3 more songs I want to play. I might only play 2, but I just want to get that out. And then Chief, I'm gonna let you lead it in when we come back with anything you wanted to bring out. So just giving you a precursor to that. So the next song, it's actually 2 songs, but the next song is actually featuring myself with the GOAT of the Israelite community. John Boy, the GOAT, self-proclaimed, but definitely, 30-something albums in 8 years. That man, hey, he doing this thing, man. I did a lot of songs with him, but here we go. Just singing the hook on it, man. So hopefully y'all like this.
I'm still elevating. My building blocks are rearranging. No matter what you say, I ain't changing. To please the Most High is where I'm aiming. It don't matter what you say about me, and it don't matter what you say about me. No, it don't matter at all. It don't matter what you say about me.
It's a roadblock blocking me from my obstacle. Made it to the roadblock after beating impossibles. When I get cut, I hold back tears and bleed out the soul. Don't know where to go, fell in love with loss, but never dated in a relationship with this compass. But it's complicated, I followed the tracks way back to where the wheels was founded. Life like Tetris, you get blocks you can't trade and build around it. I think I did the best with the things I was given. My flesh get a lot of rest cause I'm spiritual living. And now I'm on the path, seeking redemption. It's more about endurance and less about winning. Even if I get it done limping, as long as I finish. Wow.
I'm still elevating. My building blocks are rearranging. No matter what you say, I ain't changing. To please the Most High is where I'm aiming. It don't matter what you say about me, and it don't matter what you say about me. No, it don't matter at all. It don't matter what you say about me. You know that the servant's not greater than a king. You show them the mysteries, they're not listening. But instead they're just standing there like you're missing teeth. Like you're mumbling, fumbling, wondering how you eat. Tied from your spirit, it's hard to chew. Your discernment hinders what he's trying to move. You won't take a second just to let go of your pride. So when I bring you his messages, proceed to you lie. Same thing they did to Christ. Is a servant greater than his master?
All right. Hey, so that was It Don't Matter about John Boy and myself. This was like 6-7 years ago. And for those that know where I'm at now, know my understanding, know my my journey, my path, my growth, just by listening to my verbiage. But it still was a decent song to me. You know what I'm saying? So definitely
still a great song.
Gang, still good principles. And it makes sense, man. It's a servant greater than the master. I mean, it's still truth in there. So without further ado, let's go ahead and, man, you're right. We might need to do a part 2 to this. I would love to get some interaction going on. Maybe I'll invite some people, Chief. Maybe we can invite some people on here to get their point of views too. You know what I'm saying? Maybe right. 2 people. So those that's watching this, I'm putting this out there right now. We might do a part 2 to this because I think this is extremely. This might be one of the most important topics that we have. Because why? I think this question, and this was about Chief brought this to me for this week. I think that this question is very important. What does it mean to be an Israelite in 2021? Because if we don't understand what it means, I'm not. If we don't understand what it means or our purpose here in 2021, how can we go forward? So this just might be the most important question out of all of the topics that we've had, even though those other topics that we had can go into this. But this might have been the most important one, a foundational question. So for those that's watching, if you're interested, man, make sure you hit me up if you're my friend. Oh, forget my I got a Band-Aid, y'all. But if you're my friend on Facebook, hit me send me a message. If you're Chief Zebulon's Zebulon Ben Label friend on Facebook, send them a message. Let us know, and we go do a part 2 eventually. If not next week, I don't know. Floor is yours, Chief.
Yeah, we definitely need some more time to hammer away these issues, because obviously we've dealt with primarily the history, some of the, a little bit of the history of why these issues of divisions and doctrinal kickbacks on both sides or whatever. We understand the history of it. Now, of course, not the question, but now the intent is to go forward and say, okay, with this information known, we know what the problems are. Now, how do we go about fixing it? And Wa'ikra 24:22 or Leviticus 24:22, for me, is one of those metaphorical examples. And I'm using metaphor because obviously anytime we apply Torah law in contemporary settings, it has to become metaphorical. It's not literal, but this is how we apply it in our here and now. And Leviticus 24, yeah, Wa'ikra or Leviticus 24:22.
Read it. Oh, you got it.
Mishipat echad yihye lechem chager ka'ezra yihye ki ani Yahuwah Elohechem. English, we have what? You shall have one manner of law, as well for the stranger as for one of your own country, for I am the Lord your God. Question. The term law is rendered from the Hebrew mishipat.
Oh, shoot. Let me go to the
What Hebrew. Does mishipat mean?
I got to go to the Hebrew now. So I clear.
And so, and it's very important because, of course, we hear the term law, law, and we know, yeah, no doubt, we got to keep the laws, the laws. But this word in the Hebrew or in the Hebrew is very specific. This is Wayikra 24:22.
24:22. Go ahead, Salakli. 24.
Mishipa.
Did you want me to go to the word for you, or you got it?
No, yeah, you can go to it, but this is something more so for the listeners to consider afterwards, because obviously, we're going to be bringing this episode to a close shortly, but it's very important that in looking at this verse, because we're told one manner of law, and it's like, okay, cool, because when you think law, you're thinking about all of the laws and the commandments that we've been given, but the Hebrew word there, not exactly law.
Right.
It is judgment. From shafat, to judge. You shall have one judgment. What is a judgment? I mean, we know what a law is, but what is a judgment? And perhaps we can leave that for this, say for part 2. Because I think if we start tackling portions such as this, a lot of the doctrinal discrepancies amongst Israel would have to come to a cease, because now your very life is on the line. Because the Most High is telling you to have one manner. Well, term manner is actually not there. But anyway, you shall have one judgment.
And for those that don't think that Chief is right, which I'm going to show you real quick, for the word judgment, think of judges. The word for judges is shofatim.
Indeed.
This is or mispat, which comes from shapat, which shofatim. So it's like, hey man, this is why I love the Hebrew language. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna be quiet, Chief, because I didn't even pay attention to this right here. You always bringing nuggets, man. You always bringing nuggets. Hallelujah.
Yeah, hallelujah. To y'all goes the glory. But this is something that we have to consider, because when you say you shall have one manner of law, that says something specific. That's like, okay, yeah, one manner of law. That means, everybody that comes amongst us, we have to have the same law. We got to follow the same commandments.
Right.
And it's like, okay, yeah, no doubt. But shapat or mishifat is not law.
Judgment.
In fact, it's only translated as law twice in the entire Tanakh. But over 300 times, it is judgment. And what is a judgment? When you're in court, a judgment is a decision. It is a sentence. It is I was about to actually repeat it. A judgment is a sentence or a conclusion based on what? Based on law. So we're taking the law and we are coming to certain conclusions on certain matters. And that is a judgment. Wow. Hence, shapat being a judge. So if you're supposed to have one manner of judgment or one judgment, that means that a judgment is how you interpret the law. That is what a judgment is. When you're in court and you have lawyers arguing back and forth, they call it what? Legal precedence. When they argue the law and they take the law, they take all these different laws, they sit down and they say, well, based on this law, this law, this law, this law, now they set a precedence. This is what these laws mean in practical application. That is a judgment. So now we're not talking about having one manner of law. We're talking about having one manner of judgment. That means our interpretation and how we render the law into our current existence, in the here and now life, has to be in unison.
That's right.
So no, you cannot have, no, you're not free to have your own view of the Torah. No, you cannot have your own view. There can only be one view. And now the question is, what are you doing to get to that point? So what does it mean to be an Israelite in 2021? Wow. We'll continue this.
Full circle. Bringing it back full circle. We definitely have to do a part 2. We got to do a part 2 to this. We're going to go ahead and play one last song, come back, close out. And, man, Chief, man. And I'm ashamed of myself because I'm big into Hebrew. And I never looked this up. Never looked this up.
None of us really do. That's why our ancestors made it very clear. Well, I'm not going to name the book because some people might find an issue with that, but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, where it says where one of the wise men said that they've sat at the feet of wise men all of their life, and they have found nothing better for a man than what? Silence.
Okay.
Because we don't know as much as we think we know. I learned that some years ago, like, yo, I really don't know what I thought I knew.
Okay.
So sometimes, like, and that's why with me, just like, yo, Chief, just shut up and just read, just study, because none of us know what we think we know. When we think we know something, then we find something that be like, oh my God, how did I miss this? Well, there's a reason why you missed it. And there's a reason why I missed it. So we give honor and glory to the Most High for giving us the opportunity to continue daily to comb through these testimonies that have been handed down to us over centuries and centuries. So, hallelujah.
All right, so the next song, man, before we close out and have our closing song is actually called We Riding, a new Yehudi Gang song by Ethan featuring Dawood Akeem, which is the song that I played. I'm an Israelite. I'm going to play that probably the first song before every segment because I love that song and I think it represents our platform pretty cool. But this is the brother that made the song with more Ethan. So without further ado, We Riding. New song. Yehudi Gang.
Shalom to all.
Shalom lekulam. Shalom lekulam.
My toe baki.
Ani tov Torah sheshe alta.
Yeah. Appointed. They say black love don't exist. Bet they never been in our midst. When we come together like this, only outcome is success. Long as I got you, you got me. No problem we can't fix. This here a lifelong trip. She is who we rollin' with. It's just me, you, and yeah. We ride, it's just me, you, and yeah. It's just me, you, and yeah. We ride, they say love don't exist. Bet they never seen it like this. Come on. My precious jewel, my right hand. Sarah to my Abraham. I work for you, no paper. Wait for a royal priest like Leah. Why some marriages lose their flame? Walk as if it was arranged. Ironically, ours was the same. Pray to the Father and the answers came. Shot her capable. Mesmerized by the way she moved. Submit, tell you what she ain't gonna do. My good thing make life favorable. Just to name a few of the attributes that I love. Lovely, loyal, wise, royal, supportive. So I support you, you Furia. I adore you. They say black love don't exist. Bet they never been in our midst. When we come together like this, only outcome is success. Long as I got you, you got me. No problem we can't fix. This here a lifelong trip. She has who we rollin' with. It's just me, you, and yeah. We ride, it's just me, you, and yeah. It's just me, you, and yeah. We ride it, they say love don't exist. Bet they never seen it like this.
Never knew love like this. No. Sticking together through a new weather just like gorilla. Jumping in leather is what we are. Feeling the pleasure, breaking down every measure of our love like a syllable. Always on my side, I won't get rid of you. I'm digging you. In the way you looking at me, keep me into you. Modest apparel is still fine, girl, it's beautiful. And you be your hands up like a wild woman, surely be. So we go ride to the end, feeling the wind beneath our wings like we soaring through the sky with the blue eye. I'll be on your sky, keep my ripple, we are two back with no chicken beat. It's time for you do that, true that. And we gon' show the world how you do that there. A lot of pictures and commitment to get us through like years. Is our relationship perfect? Hell no, but we striving a whole lot of laughter is to fight tears. This is black love and this finest. Shout out to all the ones behind it. Everyone always point out only the negative side of our people, but we really find it. Say you with it, then I'm gon' co-sign it. No matter who on this earth trying to deny it. Just me and you and the creator of all. No extras in this vehicle when we ride it, cause they say
black love don't exist, that they never been in our midst. When we come together like this, only outcome is success. As long as I got you, you got me, no problem, we can't fix. This here a lifelong trip, she has who we rollin' with. It's just me, you, yeah. We ride, it's just me, you, hey, it's just me, you, yeah. We ride it, they say love don't exist, but they never seen it like this.
Humble Hebrews, the Hoodie Gang.
Can't hear you, Aki.
Oh my goodness, man. I'm about to hire somebody. Can't do this. I cannot do this. Anywho, appreciate those of you that tuned in today. It was a good segment. What does it mean to be an Israelite 2021? In 2021, we're going to have a part 2. Please, those of you that watch, leave comments. Put your questions out there if you have any. Your thoughts out there if you have any. If you're wanting to be a part of part 2, let us know. With that, I yield. I don't have anything, man. Toda, Chief Zeb, you have anything you want to say before we close out? You're muted right now if you're talking.
Yeah, but yeah, we wild. Yeah, it's we can close it out, but this is just so that we make it clear to anyone that's listening and that will be listening that this is not a castigation of Israel. This is love. This is us saying, yo, we are the children of the living power. We are the people who have the covenants. We have the promises. All of these things that we have as a people, the Most High has given us. The question, of course, is we've, after we have it, now what are we doing to show and prove to other people that this walk, this way of life is the best possible option for them in this world? They should be seeing us and saying, yo, I don't care about these other things that are around me, these other doctrines, whatever like that. This Torah, this is where I need to be. They need to see us and say, that is a representation of the Most High Yah. They're not supposed to see us as a distinct entity from the Most High. And that's what they're seeing. They're saying, yo, if this is how they're rolling, what type of God do they believe in? If they're moving divided, we always talk about how the Christians are bugged out because they believe in a Trinity, but it's like, well, yeah, they might divide their God, but we divide our people. So who really believes in Trinities?
Yep.
Part 2 coming soon.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. And with that, we're done, man. We're going to go ahead and close out with one last song. Y'all have a good night, and may the Most High keep you all protected and blessed. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
We'll close out with Ben Blackwell. I always got to close out with the brother because he's spitting that Hebrew. Here we go.
היא סובלת ולאף אחד לא אכפת, היא נושמת אבל הלב שלה מת מזמן, היא פוחדת לאן לרוץ, יש לה בתוך הקוף פצע שמתרפק, שהרמקול צועק במסגרת זה, היא עומדת ליד העמדה שלה, תקליטן מתחילה לרחב עם המלודיה, שוכחת את הכל והלב מתחיל לפרוק. תרקדי ילדה, תרקדי, תרקדי ילדה, תרקדי ילדה, תרקדי ותשכחי, היי תרקדי, תרקדי ילדה, תרקדי, תרקדי ילדה, תרקדי, תרקדי ילדה, תרקדי ותשכחי, ותשכחי. תראי לשתף איתך מה שלא זורם אצלי, אין אחד בעולם שיקח את הנפש של אחד מהחיות שלי. אני לא מסכים שתסבלי, לא נעים, אני כאן באולפן נושם לתוך המיקרופון, מביא לך את האפשרות לברוח מהשיגעון. הקומון תרקדי את המצפון, מצטרך להרדים, זה רק אני ואת פה, תשכחי מהכל, את המרפא אני לא אפסיק להרחיב, אין מצב שאת תפלי, תרגי את תתהיה, תרקדי, אני מוצר עברי ובנו אותי להצליח, אז תרגישי חופשי. לכל בן אדם עברי יש מחויבות להשיב את השלום ולחזק את התרבות. אנחנו המיעוט ומילדות סיפור על הכבון, אני יודע זהו, אז בוא נשמור על השביעות, השיגעון הורס לי את הדמות, יש לי את הזכות לעזור לאחות שלי, והנה הסיבות שלי. היא סובלת ולאף אחד לא אכפת, היא נושמת אבל הלב שלה מת מזמן, היא פוחדת לאן לרוץ, יש לה בתוך הקוף פצע שמתרפק, שהרמקול צועק במסגרת זה, היא עומדת ליד העמדה שלה, תקליטן מתחילה לרחב עם המלודיה, שוכחת את הכל והלב מתחיל לפעול, and this phone תרקדי בשביל יום כדי להציל את הטוב שנשאר, תרקדי בשביל יום ותנקי את העבר, תרקדי בשביל יום כדי להציל את הטוב שנשאר, תרקדי בשביל יום ותנקי את העבר. שכחתי את לא, לכל בן אדם עברי יש מחויבות להשיב את השלום, לחזק את התרבות. לכל בן אדם עברי יש מחויבות להשיב את השלום ולחזק את התרבות. Let's go.